What's going on, everybody? Today is Thursday, March 13th. This is the recap for episode 3, the final 16 of Survivor 48. And Jeff didn't lie. It was a historic tribal council. I would say it was not as fun as most historic tribal councils, but it was something. I would say that.
It did not make any sense whatsoever. I mean, I understand like logically how why everything happened. I meant with the players' decisions, it made no no
Mm-hmm.
sense. But I still enjoyed watching it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so we had many different things. I think the easy thing to start with is that Mary would have went home, but she plays the shot in the dark. We have our second shot in the dark hit of all time. So Mary saves herself from a 2-0 uh um exit here. But it makes it interesting because uh she does not have a vote anymore because of that. Justin also came back from the journey with no vote, which I think this is ultimately what does him in is the fact. Well, first of all, if he didn't lose his vote, he would have been fine in this episode. Um, I do not like that, and I'm already starting on a tangent here, but I don't like that on the journey. It is both a game of chance and you have to play. I think if it's skill based, maybe you could force them to play,
Hmm.
but I really don't like the idea of a game of chance. You have to play it.
Yes, I agree. This is the third shot in the dark that was correct. That worked, by the way.
Who was the? I had this and Caleb.
Jamie in 44.
Oh, was she? But I did she not need it or something?
Safe but negated 0 votes.
Yep. There. Okay. Okay. That's why I didn't remember it. Okay.
I thought I had
Um.
read somewhere that it was three. But yes, anyway, not to sort of backtrack, but yeah.
No, you're good. You're
Um
good.
I agree with you. I don't like when you take agency out of players' hands. Had to play and chance. You're taking agency out of the players.
Yeah, and on the way to the journey, he got a confessional that he said like, we have very low amount of people, and my vote is huge, and I feel like he might have not risked it. I feel like even when it makes sense to play it safe and not risk it, a lot of people still risk it. So you can't say that with certainty, but there's a chance he got screwed over there um, by being forced to play. The very interesting thing, though, here is um, so I thought Cedric was going to be loyal to a fault to say,
Hmm.
and um, I mean she's pretty aggressive throughout the episode. We can kind of get to it, but the interesting thing here is that Justin he does not tell Cedric that he lost his vote. Cedric like he you could say whatever you want to the big group, but I feel like the socially acceptable thing to do now is you can lie to the big group as long as your allies expect you to tell them the real thing though. And so
And that's best anyway, because the people who you're not aligned with expect you to be lying to them anyway. So
right.
it does not matter if you come back from this journey and don't divulge the information. It does matter, though, if you're working with people, they need to know if you have a vote or not.
Right. And Cedric immediately starts to plan with him uh keeping in mind Justin having his vote because he didn't tell him that he lost his vote.
Right.
And so I feel like not only is Cedric going to find out that Justin doesn't have his vote, which the Mary wrinkle is interesting because, um, well, even without her playing the shot in the dark, there's no way in a group of four that all four votes don't have to be read. It's either a 2-2 tie or it's 3-1, and you would have to read the third vote because you can't stop at 2-1, right? So there's no universe where he should have expected this to not be immediately revealed.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, there is. And then I guess they don't actually at Tribal, they don't understand that he doesn't have a vote. Like,
Yeah, it took Cedric way too long to
right.
figure
Like,
this out.
it's just the pure numbers. Like, I feel like their shock when Jeff had to tell them, like, tell the rest of the tribe, Justin, you don't have to go up there and vote anymore. Like, it's all out in the open. They're like, what?
Yeah. And they were being nice to Cedric in the edit because when Jeff said that there was only 2 votes, Cedric like looked over at him, and which probably it sounds like didn't happen because
Yeah.
Cedric was very surprised. So Cedric was very last in my rankings. He's tied for the bottom overall.
The only
'Cause you had
reason
him.
why I moved him up a spot is because of the swap.
That's fair.
I think
I have a
Say
feeling they're swapping together. She's gonna get him.
well, I have a feeling they're swapping together and she might get got because everyone else is gonna not like her.
Yeah, but so the interesting thing. So Mary, her using the idol, and it ends up as 0-0. And so you do quote unquote re-vote, but it is not a re-vote. It's the first vote is the next vote, right? Because that one is null. There's no votes. So they're going to go up there, and it's just Say and Cedric. And Say is going to vote for Justin. She wanted to vote for Justin earlier anyway, in the event that Mary had an idol or shot in the dark. So she's going to go with Justin. And if I'm Cedric, even if I prefer Justin to stay, I probably would have voted him out here because then you're forcing a tie. And at that point, the result got so confusing that I bet you he did not know what the tiebreaker was.
I wonder, are you able to ask in advance some behind the scenes?
I wonder if you could. I wonder if Jeff would make you say it out loud, but I bet you could ask.
Yeah, because I mean, he is of the mindset, right, that he's gonna go up there and he's gonna put Say's name down, right? Because that's what he does. So you would think, why does it matter if I ask out loud in front of everyone or not? Because I'm gonna do this and it's gonna get revealed anyway that I'm gonna do it. Maybe I won't do it if the outcome isn't what I want it to be.
Right. That's true. So, which if Say is smart, she can deduce that he's considering voting for her, though, even if he doesn't, because the only 2 choices are her and Justin, and she has to vote for Justin.
Right.
So yeah, it's gonna come back. Say votes for Justin, and Cedric votes for Say. What I was waiting for all season, pretty much. And then so it's a tie, and they say, okay, we're gonna re-vote. You can only vote for Say or Justin, and since Say she can't vote for herself, so she automatically. So this is where it gets weird, because normally in a revote, if you are one of the tied people, you don't vote.
Right.
But because Justin didn't have a vote, it's not the automatically you both cancel each other out. So they let Say vote. She's going to vote for Justin.
This makes sense. I'm tracking the logic. I think the whole thing does make sense. I'm sure written down in the bylaws of Survivor are every possible permutation of all of this happening. Like, or do you think at like some point they're like, "Fuck, we need to like figure out what we need to do here."
So that's what's interesting is, before forced Final Four fire making, if there was a 2-2 tie at the Final Four, the tiebreaker was fire. Obviously, it was established later on because there was a rock drop for Marquesas, but that's been the running rule up until forced Final Four fire making. I always assumed that if there was a 2-2 tie, or I guess it's not 2-2 in this case, but a tie with 4 people left, in this case, where you're essentially saying there's the 2 people receiving votes and then 1 person on either side, then rather than those 2 people having to either be unanimous or draw rocks, I kind of assumed that they would do a fire-making challenge. And when it came back 1-1 and then they go to vote again, Cedric doesn't change his vote, and it comes back 1-1 and it's a deadlock. At that point, I thought it was going to be fire, because the fact that Say is able to vote, it doesn't make sense to me that she would not be able to participate in the discussion that Cedric gets to quote unquote make himself. And I get that she can't participate because she's one of the 2 people involved.
She only has one possible person to vote for, so her vote cannot change.
Right. So the unanimous discussion, I guess the rule with the unanimous discussion is that it happens between all of the people who would be up for rock draw, or at least they're the ones who make the decision.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it gets to this convoluted thing where Cedric gets to cast the sole vote, and so by kind of going out on a limb and voting for Say, and a thing that I thought the risk was not worth a reward because the tiebreaker would be so hazy, it turns out that he can cast the sole vote. All he needed to do was stick to his guns and keep voting Say, and he was going to get to the point where he got to make the sole vote, and he votes for Justin instead. This is I genuinely think this is one of the stupidest moves in Survivor history. Like, there's some that are stupid because of the magnitude of them. As far as just random decision goes, this is one of the worst. Why you would betray because the chain of events.
You betrayed everyone at this point.
Right. I think he's the first player ever to vote for every single person on his original tribe.
Right. Yeah.
And through 3 tribal councils, he's voted for every single person that was at this tribal council.
Mm-hmm.
In this tribal council, he voted for Mary, then Say twice, then Justin.
Yeah.
And he also voted for every single person on his starting tribe. And the stat that they're the person who tweeted that they also included that he's also the only person on the tribe to not receive a single vote against him. So he's doing something right, I guess.
He's the only person to ever vote for 3 different people in one tribal. Is that true?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the same thing?
I think so.
So this is it's just baffling. There is absolutely no logic. I think just by the end of this, he was just so confused and a pussy. Like I don't understand. Because, Say just, backs him down, essentially.
Yeah.
I don't
and
understand.
Justin rolls over.
Which,
completely.
you gotta know who you're up against, right? Or you gotta know who you're appealing to.
Yeah, I actually didn't hate him doing that, but
Right,
the fact that he goes, it's a little hindsight.
Because, I liked Justin's move here, but I guess, like I said, I don't like it because you gotta know who your allies are. But to many people, pretty much everyone else I would imagine on this season would have voted Say out in this scenario. I don't really know who else wouldn't have. But his line of logic is I'm gonna let her dig her own grave, right? I don't think he was necessarily laying down. He was just more just let her do what she's doing, and hopefully that is enough to be I don't want to be aligned with this person.
Yeah, I actually think it was sound from him to say being herself is what got to the point of Cedric is voting for her instead of me.
Right.
And when the discussion comes, Say is very aggressive again towards Cedric. Shocker. And so I think from Justin's point of view, it's almost like the well, no, it's not. Never mind. Bad comparison. But I think he's it's Say. She's over aggressive. She's doing it again. Her pitch right now is probably turning him off to the point where I'm just going to say, just do your thing. I trust whatever.
He could have probably pitched a little harder. It was a mistake to lie to you. Won't happen again.
Yeah, he probably should have said that.
Yeah.
I understand the idea of being I lost my vote, and just with the way that information freely flows on this tribe, I was just trying to keep a tight, heavy lid on it. THL.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it snowballed. And Cedric, the real stupidity here is voting for Mary's fine, whatever. I think he would be the middle person between Justin and Say.
Right.
That I think was a good decision. And then when he has to vote again, I think the fact that he votes for Say to force the tie is interesting because you got to think surface level, there's a 50-50 shot she goes. Whereas Justin, it's sad that you're betraying him, but Say, in your mind, Say is not wavered.
This is why I think he didn't understand. Still, Justin didn't have a vote. because he walks up. Justin had to walk up a second time to vote.
Yeah.
So like in his mind here, okay, he's like, all right, it's gonna be 1-1. They're gonna vote for each other, so I can just send Say home. And it's not solely my fault. And then it comes up again, and they plead for their lives. And he's like, oh shit, I have to make this decision. He's like, well, I don't want that on my conscience.
Right. I just my issue with him is this is what I talk about with next level of thinking, by the way. We usually talk about this for winners. They're generally in Survivor, it's really driven by relationships and things like that. And yeah, every once in a while, like there's an Operation Italy where it's like solely math, and you're like, it's just because like you can deduce like okay, 3 to 2 to 2, like that can happen, right? And so there's there's a couple specific times where that is required, and when I say someone doesn't have that next level of thinking, this is exactly what I'm referring to. Just being able to, in a critical situation, do the logic of, okay, Mary is not voting. Throw Mary out. There's 2 votes. I know that I'm voting. I'm writing names down. I know that I'm voting. And I know that I'm voting for Say. The other vote's for Justin. How the hell would Justin be voting? How does it take him 2 rounds of voting and then Jeff telling him Justin doesn't have a vote to finally realize, like, I thought what was going to happen was he votes for Say, then it's like, oh fuck, what I just said becomes obvious. Justin lied to me, and now I'm gonna vote Justin out. And then I thought there was going to be hell to pay with Say because he wrote her name down once.
Mm-hmm.
It turns into this whole fucking thing where he's basically like, all right, I'm going to be on a 3-person alliance and the only, or 3-person tribe. And the only way I'm keeping you Say is if you 2 promise to make an alliance between the 2 of you.
Right.
And, which that's also hilarious because Say is like, I don't know if I like can pretty much.
Yeah. Well, my point here is his pitch was definitely more to Say than to Mary. Like you need to work with her essentially.
Yeah.
But Mary here just needs to be like, I refuse to work with Say
Right.
because then if she says that, he keeps Justin. And then they can work together with Mary. She probably goes anyway, but like with the tribe swap, at least you don't have someone like Say who's actively working against you, because she's going to be now actively working against Mary and Cedric on a tribe swap. So like at least you're like, okay, if we get down here, if we I have like 50-50. This is not actually 50-50, but like we either lose the challenge or we don't. That's the 50-50. And
Yeah.
and if we lose the challenge, I'm probably going home. If we swap, then I live to see another day and no one's coming after me, really. If we win the challenge, great. We don't have to vote. So maybe it's really 67%.
Yeah, I think that I actually kind of think it behooves Mary to keep Say just because she's so volatile that I think like Cedric was willing to vote her out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that if you go back to camp where Cedric has proven he's willing to write her name and Say we've seen what she does with people who betray her, I actually would bank on Mary being the swing vote more than anything, I think. Whereas Justin and Cedric, I think as long as they can get past the fact that Justin didn't tell him about losing his vote, they're both could be pretty level-headed, and it's probably a tougher duo to break apart.
If I had to predict what happens next, I think Say and Cedric swap to the same tribe. I think Say guns so hard for Cedric with everyone else, and everyone else is just kind of like, it's not us. Like, so okay. And then they do it, and then they're like, all right, we need to get her. So then Cedric goes, and they're like, all right, we need to get her out because we can't take her anymore. So I would
Yeah.
think that Cedric would go and then Say would go, just because, like, when you swap and you're like, everyone's scrambling and you got to figure out, like, new people on your tribe, or, like, maybe you swap with people you aren't aligned with, so you got to figure out what's going on there. Everyone's kind of in a, like, as long as it's not me, like, stage, and Say will not be like that. So.
Yeah. So I think it's worth it to talk about all the other tribes, even though we know next week is a tribe swap. I guess I'm curious for your thoughts. Well, first of all, I'm almost positive that this swap is only occurring because of how bad the green tribe is. Like it almost seems like in previous Survivor, like old Survivor seasons, when there would be a swap, it was already written into the show. Like we're swapping at 16 to 2 tribes of 8, or we're swapping at 15 to 3 tribes of 5, or whatever. And it seems like in the new era, they only really swap if one team's getting fucking killed.
Right. Like, I feel like they sat down and were like, okay, they're just gonna keep losing until they have
Right.
no one left. So, but it
Yeah,
does
I
make
think
sense
that's
to
like we
swap.
made a mistake with these tribes.
It does make sense to swap at 15 because you do 3 tribes of 5. But
Well, that was going to be my next question: is do you think they go 3 tribes of 5, or do you think they do
7
2
and 8,
tribes and one person has some kind of twist, be it
exile.
Exile Island, or we've seen in the past this is more popular like 30s thing, but yeah, we'll swap and there will be one person left over and they will replace whoever gets voted out on whatever tribe
I
they are
think they're
voted out
kind of
of.
done with the gimmicks for a little bit, to be honest. I bet they go 3 tribes of 5 because they love 3 tribes. And
Hmm.
I don't know, they should put Cedric on an island for doing that. Put him on there
They
for a
should
day.
just be like,
Turn back time. Give him the power to turn back time. The best, everyone's favorite twist of Survivor ever.
yeah. I would love if he was given that opportunity, and he probably would do it. Actually, bring back Justin, and Justin would be like, "I'm voting Cedric out."
Oh, it goes the whole way back. They bring somebody back from being eliminated who wasn't on exile. I
Yeah,
bet they go 3 tribes
actually,
of 5. That'd be what I would guess.
Justin, he's so like whatever.
Mhm.
I bet he wouldn't even target Cedric. Like Cedric's the only guy I have a personal relationship in this game, so I got it. Like he kind of does that. Like he leans his head
Mhm.
back a little, then he talks real monotone, and there's a definite pace to it, and that's just kind of what he feels. And
I
he has like a press conference kind of cadence to
he
him.
does. He does. I bet. I don't know if he would ever target anyone ever.
No, yeah, I don't think so. Like I'm floored at what he did to Kevin because it seems like he's incapable of any kind of moves at all.
Yeah, he's like, I'm content just being a vote, a number. Not on the
Right.
bottom. He's in the majority alliance. He's like, I'm content being a number.
I've seen people say that they were surprised he went because he felt like there was maybe winner upside, and I just
Really?
don't get that at all.
I don't see that at all.
I
At
don't
all.
either.
Where did we have
Um,
him before? We had him low last week. And then
Yeah, he
episode
was late.
1, I had him in the middle. I had him 10th. We ranked him 11th overall.
last week he was like 12th or 13th, I think.
Yeah, 12th overall.
Yeah.
I had
So
him 13th. So we flip flopped on who had him higher, but just somewhere in the middle to the bottom.
yeah. So yeah, I would bank on 3 tribes as well. I think I'm just dreaming of 2 tribes is all that's happening right now.
Was there
But
anything
if-
for 50? Any votes? New stuff for 50 yet?
Not that I've seen.
We
I
didn't vote
would
on
bet-
2 tribes yet, did we?
No.
Okay, I think that is a vote. I think I did hear that. 2 or 3 tribes.
I would bet so there was like the premiere one. I would bet there'll be one at the finale as well. And I bet we get like 2 more at different points during the season. I wouldn't be surprised if next week or the week after we probably will get another one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so just a couple other interesting things here. I think the Purple Tribe, this is very interesting, the way that things have evolved on the Purple Tribe despite there being no vote so far. Thomas is such a villain
Dude,
in
in the best way.
great way.
I've been saying that. I said that last week, I think, on our episode, and I was saying that all last night while we were watching I said he is such a villain, like he's so villain coded, and I love it. It's like he's a villain in the best way, like Say is a villain in the worst way.
Exactly. Yeah.
There are good
And I-
foils again with the foils this season.
Right. And I think it just comes down to self-awareness where
Yeah.
Thomas, I think if you were like, are you like a villain? He'd be like, yeah, I guess I am a little bit of a villain, huh?
Yeah.
Like that's what he would say
Yeah.
versus say if you're like, are you a villain? She'd be like, no, I'm just honest.
And right.
Yeah. Which I guess most villains are, so maybe like
Yeah.
there would be an indignance there
We
that
skipped over this, but I texted you this during tribal council about how Mary pulls out her what Say assumes to be an idol, and
Mhm.
it's
Oh
actually
yeah.
her shot in the dark, and she goes
After
to play
all
it.
day she says Mary has an idol.
Mary
She's
has an
too
idol. She
comfortable.
has an idol. She has something. I know she has something. Which I guess could be interpreted as everyone has something because everyone has a shot in the dark. But
Mhm.
she's got something. She's working on something. She goes to play her shot in the dark, and Say goes, "I knew it. I was right," and then was immediately wrong.
Yeah.
Or I think it
It's
was. I think she was wrong first, and then said she was right. I think Jeff said, "This is a shot in the dark," and Say goes, "I knew it." After that, which is even worse.
yeah, there's like oh fuck, I don't know. She's just there's no further analysis that
No.
you can do. Like it's Say is becoming like you had to be there because explaining just over and over how fucking backwards she is.
Yeah.
It's hard to do.
It is. Anyways, the Purple
Um
Tribe.
yeah, the Purple Tribe. So Thomas so he and Bianca have developed this thing where um well pretty much Thomas is starting to want Eva out of the game because it seems he still wants to work with Joe, but he's like, this duo is becoming a problem.
Yeah.
And according to him and Shaheen shared a look about it. Shaheen he hasn't really given his opinion one way or the other. I would predict that Shaheen ends up with either Star or nobody from his original tribe. He definitely won't be with like one of either pair. Like I really don't think he's gonna have to make a decision because they kind of established him as like kind of in with everybody and
Mhm.
his story is more an individual thing that
Right.
I don't really see him having to make a decision between Purple Tribe members very soon. Um but regardless of that, Thomas he uh he gets together with or actually no the inciting incident I forgot was Eva she goes up to Star and
She's shooting herself in the foot big time.
yeah Eva's pretty bad in this episode.
Yeah.
She knows that Star has the advantage, so she goes to Star and she's like, hey, do you have the advantage?
Which this in and
And
of itself is a good thing, I think. This beginning part.
yeah, I think it's fair to be like, hey, I know this person's against me, but let me just see if they'll lie right to my face.
Right.
And she does. And
Mhm.
it's from Star's point of view, it should be it's a very small leap in logic to think that Eva knows about your advantage because you've told every single person on the beach besides her.
Right. And in that point, if you're Star, like, maybe you do just tell her the truth.
Yeah, I honestly think I probably would.
I think I would too. Yeah. But
I mean, like the jig is up.
yeah, regardless, this is where it should have stopped with Eva. She should have said, okay, she's lying to me. Maybe I don't really need to pitch names.
Right. Yeah, it's obvious she's against you and then Eva turns around and she says, "How about, let's get one of Thomas or Bianca out." And I think Star is I mean, she is definitely an imperfect player. I think the biggest mistake she's made is telling Joe about the Beware advantage
Mhm.
when she should have told Thomas first. And I think because Thomas and Bianca kind of have this like puzzle solver kind of reputation
Mhm.
they've developed. And Thomas and Bianca are clearly better allies for Star
Right.
than Joe and Shaheen, who she originally went to. So, and that's also with the hindsight of knowing that Joe is not going to turn on Eva for Star, right? But it's pretty much to the point now where it seems that Thomas, Bianca, and Star, if they could finagle something, a situation, they would like to get Eva out of this game. And of course, it's completely snuffed out by two things. One is Bianca losing her vote, and the fact that Star still doesn't have her vote. And for those puzzle solvers, it's crazy that Star doesn't have that fucking thing opened up yet.
I know. Well,
But
they're still not like actively helping her with it, right?
I don't know. I'm kind of curious
Well,
on Thomas right now.
Thomas goes back and forth because he says, it's my opinion that we should help her open it. I was like, buddy, last week you just said that you should fucking throw that thing in the ocean.
Right. Yeah, so Thomas, I don't quite know. I get the feeling that if Thomas sat there with that, if he was given a couple hours with that, he would figure it out.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
right, so I am kind of the opinion that he is still not helping Star on purpose. Now, maybe if they were going to go to a tribal council, then he would like get his ass in gear and solve it so that they have 3 votes
Hmm.
and they're, Star's playing an idol. They don't even need 3 votes. They just need probably 1 at that point. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's created this very interesting relationship, or not relationship, kind of like this landscape where if Thomas and Eva swap together and no one else from the Purple Tribe is there, do you think Thomas goes out of his way to target Eva?
Probably not.
I almost think that he does.
Really?
Because I think if you want to break up the duo, first of all, you want to work with Joe out of the 2. So that's part of
It's
it.
an easier pitch if you're swapped with Eva. It's an easier pitch to Joe. Like, I was
Right.
on my hands. Like,
Yeah, and if you're wanting to work with Joe and you're saying, "Okay, Joe, like the kind of guy he is. He's not going to get voted out for being a dick. He's not going to get voted out for being bad at challenges. He's, I would say, one of the safer bets in the game to make it to the merge. I think as long as he doesn't really get swap screwed, he will." And so from that perspective, you're like, "All right, I really do not want Eva to reconnect with him." I could see Thomas. He has shown to me where he's a very smart player, but he he lets his mustache twirl and get in the way a little bit. Like he wants to be evil a little bit more than he wants to be good.
yeah.
And he is
Well, that's
high level of both,
well,
but it's like
That's
it's
what
a
makes
thing.
a good villain, is like being evil over sometimes making not the right decision to go out of your way to be evil. Like that's what makes a good villain. Is like
Yeah.
not like you have to be a certain level of good to be like super villain, you know? Like you
Yeah.
can't be bad and be a super villain. But like there's some decisions that like how many super villains have really won Survivor, right? Like a couple, probably.
Yeah, if that. Yeah.
And it's because in the situations where they know the right thing to do, but they can't help themselves making the
Right.
evil decision.
Yeah, it's like
That may be my demise in real life.
this is a big Star Wars like debate of, Anakin is quote unquote like the most powerful Jedi ever,
Mhm.
right? But then he loses to Obi-Wan on Mustafar, and everybody's like, well, Obi-Wan's like he beat him in a fight, and it's like, no, he was more powerful, but he's so blinded by
Hatred.
all like
Yeah.
his hatred and his arrogance and all this stuff that he makes dumb tactical decisions. But he's still like, if you're talking like power,
Hmm.
he's like the guy still.
Yeah.
And so like there's
In
I think that's
in a vacuum. Vader,
Right,
Vader in a vacuum.
that's the downfall of he is in a vacuum in some space.
It's true.
But that's the downfall of like so many villains. Like why can the underdog hero beat the big bad villain? A lot of times it's because the villain is like cartoonishly obsessed with being evil because they're fictional.
Yeah.
They're like, I just fucking I wanna take over the world
Hmm.
more than I want to vanquish this one guy. Like I could get rid of this guy strategically,
Hmm.
then take over the world because he's the only one blocking me from taking over the world.
Right.
They're like, nah, I'm just gonna fucking take over the world, and oh no, this guy's here, fuck, and then he beats me. Like that's the logic of like so many stories, and yeah, I think Thomas to me, he is the kind of villain who could win the game.
Hmm.
I guess I think my only read on a winner right now is I kind of lean that Shauheen is the winner
Yeah, me too.
if I had to pick somebody, but yeah, Thomas to me at this point, I would expect he is like a pelt for one of the big players of the season, pretty much.
Yeah, I would agree. I need a midi-chlorian count on him.
Yeah,
to
he
continue,
probably has a high midichlorian count.
for all the to continue the Star Wars reference. Yeah, I bet he
Yeah,
does.
that should be instead of like
This
winner
fake
upside.
thing.
That's what we. Yeah.
We should rank them by midi chlorian count, potential midi chlorian count. That'd be good content. That'd be good TikTok.
Uh, but yeah, I think that yeah, this is a really interesting tribe. I think that I'm very interested to see them get split up.
Hmm.
Um,
It is
because
like that tribe is like not. I'm gonna go back to Star Wars again. That tribe is like Star Wars. Joe is like the Luke Skywalker. He's like
Mhm.
the high midi chlorian count, good, good, but he'll make the good decision over the right decision, and Thomas will make
Yeah,
the bad decision over the right decision.
yeah, yeah. I've been going through the Game of Thrones books, and Joe, he, I mean, it remains to be seen the lengths that he's willing to go for like the honor and helping out Eva and everything.
Hmm.
He reminds me a lot of Ned Stark, where
Hmm.
you kind of get the feeling that uh like he's smart enough, although Ned's kind of dumb in the books, but he's smart enough, but if push came to shove, he's gonna choose doing the right thing. Like he'd rather die nobly than be a touch sneaky and live.
Then live to see himself become a villain.
Right. But not even become a villain, just be like 1% less good.
That's
He's
true.
like I can't have it.
He's not as like grim as Ned Stark is.
No. Ned is pretty grim. Stuff starts to fucking knock out his way though, so
That's true. Fair.
it's
We'll see
understandable.
once Eva gets voted out how grim he how grim he
Yeah.
is.
Well, yeah, he lives in like basically fucking Greenland or Canada, and then it gets worse. You'd have problems if that. While his entire fucking family's already dead.
Yeah.
Um, spoilers for chapter 1 of Game of Thrones. Spoilers for the pilot.
It's not a
Um,
spoiler if it's been out for a decade.
that's true. Um, but yeah, I think the interesting thing with the Purple Tribe is there's a lot of potential to swap for them to target each other. And I
Hmm.
think if we want to segue to the Orange Tribe,
Hmm.
I kind of feel like Charity is the only one that any of these people would go after on a swap because there is a big group of 4 and they all like Mitch.
They want to
And
do it
kind
to
of
him. They gotta do it to him.
right. The thing that they don't like about Mitch is that he's wants to be number ones with Charity. That's like established in this.
Hmm.
And he kind of has this conversation with Kyle where he wants to bring in Kyle as like a solid 3 there, and it seems like David would be their 4th. Congratulations, sir, you are the 4th.
Yeah. What
Um,
everyone wants to be. The fourth.
yes. Um, so it seems that they've kind of pitched this as a 2-2-2 with David and Kyle in the middle.
Hmm.
I would bet what probably ends up happening here is one of Chrissy and Camilla goes after the swap, and Kyle and David slowly work their way to this Mitch Charity side of the aisle.
Yeah. It seemed like this is Kyle's tribe to take, honestly. Like,
Yeah,
if they weren't
big
swapping,
time.
like, this is all him. Because, like you said, him and David are in the middle, but does David recognize that that's the position he's in, and does he know how to capitalize on it? I think Kyle does. David, I'm not so sure of. Although, as far as, like, not understanding cues go, Kyle say David laying out his life story and about how he lives in a trailer in the front of his parents' house, and Kyle goes, "Oh, that's sick."
He's like, fucking no, it's not.
He goes, I think it's pretty pathetic, actually," is I think the quote that David says about himself.
And then he's like, you don't like it? Which, in Kyle's defense, like, there's something kind of cool about having, like, a really small space that it's like, this is 100% me. Like, you could have a big ass house, and, like, it could be your home, but, like, there's a lot of empty space on the walls. Like, there's rooms you don't go in as much, right? And, but like if you have like a little trailer and it's like every inch of it is utilized by you and it's just you and it's like there is a level of like college dorm that's kind of
Yeah,
cool about that.
yeah, just
But again, he's 38.
right.
So
How old's Kyle? I don't even know off the top of my head. He's got to be in his 20s, right? That's such a 20s thing to say. He's
I think he's
31.
31. Yeah. Yeah.
That's too old to have that take.
Yeah.
And I
He-
I did relate to him a little bit, but I was in high school when this story happened that I'm about to tell you. Uh, I used to work at like a retirement community. I was like a
Hmm.
server, and I would run food and stuff. And uh, one of the there was somebody else who was also a server there who I worked with. She was like middle aged. She was maybe in her 40s. She came in the one day and she like her like whole side of her face was bruised. Like she had fallen like in the shower or something and like bruised her face.
Oh.
It was like bad, really like black and blue. But credit to her for still working, man. I would not not be not want to do that. But she comes around the corner and I instinctively go, "Oh, what happened to your face?" She did not take that well, but it was more of like a gut reaction than like I actually thought about it because I like said it right away. I think that's kind of what Kyle did there.
Right.
He was like, "Oh, that's sick," and then he was like, "I probably should have said that." And then but then he didn't back off of it. He was like, "No, I think it's pretty sick still, even after you
Well,
explain it."
Kyle, yeah, Kyle to me, I do think it's partially genuine because he reads to me like, uh, he's a lawyer, right? Yeah, he's a lawyer,
Mhm.
and so he's like, you know, there's a lot of situations where he needs to be like proper and like, he's smart, so there's a level of intelligence and like a level of there's a level of tranquility, maybe it is, or like
Mm,
calmness that
reserve.
comes, yeah, that comes with like a high level of intelligence where you're just more analytical about situations where you're like there's nothing that you react to in an instant, really. If it's I know people that are like that. Not every smart person's like that, but it seems to be a more common thing among smart people
Generalizations,
than
as I
not.
say.
Yes, that's what I'm doing right now.
That's
But Kyle, he also reads to me that he was like very broy, or he like is very broy, and
mm-hmm,
like he probably was in a frat,
mm-hmm,
and like there's some stuff to him that's sick.
yeah.
Like he's got to say it.
Yeah, right. It's just it's instinct. You can't
Yeah,
be in Sigma 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 for 10 years while you're in law school and not come and saying that's sick, bro. I
yeah. I
like
wonder,
that.
do you get to stay in the frat if you just stay in school? I guess you
You're a
do.
brother for life, my man.
That's true. I forgot about that aspect of it. Um, but yeah, so I think this is a pretty interesting tribe where, yeah, I could see, two or three people swap with Charity. I could see them going after Charity. But I think with this swap coming and what we've seen about Mitch, I think Mitch is here to stay, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I would agree too. I feel like he's integral to Jeff. Just
Yeah.
not even the story, just Jeff as a person. Camilla, I don't. She still gives me weird vibes. I don't know what it is. I can't figure her out. I mean, I understand like what her story is supposed to be as far as the editing goes, but like, I don't know. I said this after episode one too, but like, I don't. There's something about her that just the vibes are weird.
Yeah, I think she might be the answer to the question I'm about to ask, but do you have a couple people that have been just generally safe so far? I mean, everybody is besides the Green Tribe, but we've seen a couple people shift to the bottom on
Mhm.
some of the other tribes. Do you have anybody that you're like, you just have a feeling based on their edit that it's just like, it's what you said, like there's just something that's not quite right, and it could be them getting swap screwed, and they're not like a really big part of the story,
Mhm.
kind of out of nowhere, and that's why they don't get an edit when it seems like they maybe should have one.
Yeah, I think Camilla would be my answer to that. Um,
I've got another one too.
my other pick would be Chrissy.
Okay, I was gonna say Bianca too.
She was my third pick.
Yeah,
Bianca does feel like she should be more involved than she is. Chrissy, like I can understand potentially why she uh didn't get a big edit, and it wouldn't necessarily be because she gets swap screwed, but like I would definitely put those three at the top of my list.
yeah, I think so too. I don't know what it is. I think Bianca, it might be just because Thomas is such a big personality, and they're kind of in a duo, so you get a lot of
Mm.
her game through his eyes.
What we've gotten from her has been good. It's not like
Yeah,
she's like biffing it in confessionals or something. Like, you know what I
right.
mean?
Which that's part of what feeds into it for me, though. I think because if she sucked a confessional, That's one thing.
Mhm.
But I think the fact that she's good in confessional and she's good in a good position. I mean, there's a couple purple people every season, but we did get a lot from her this episode, confessional count wise. But I think it was a lot of it was the journey
Yeah, that makes sense.
because it was Justin and Camilla. Which Camilla's at it's been weird, and Justin, he's just like not really gonna bring you what you need from like a narrative or a narrator perspective on a journey.
Camilla's very narratory. She is a big storyteller in confessionals. But yeah, I don't know. I think I would say those three. I would probably put Bianca too, actually, and Chrissy third.
Yeah.
Charity actually has also, for being on the bottom and being on the outs, has not gotten a lot.
Yeah, I
Which
felt like she got
safe.
she got more good stuff this week because I feel like her and Mitch really solidifying like them two
Mhm.
makes me think maybe Charity Charity has some legs. I don't know. I don't know why they put Charity and Chrissy on the same tribe with those names.
I know. C's, they're so hard to differentiate. CH's.
Yeah.
Tough.
And end in a Y.
Yeah, they're so similar. They could be the same person.
Both have an I. Need I go on?
50% of the name is the same.
Yeah. Also on the challenge, we got a blindfold challenge today.
Classic.
Yeah, which I don't like the fact that it is kind of crapshooty with like blindfold. Like, there's not a ton of skill in. Well, there is
Callers,
some
I don't know. Camilla was screaming. I would not want to listen to her for an entire challenge yell. But we got the patented hit in the nuts shot. There's one every time.
2 times for David.
There's one every time we do this challenge. Somebody gets hit in the nuts.
Yeah. I know I dunk on her a lot, but I have to say was completely horrible.
So bad. Well, I said to Alyssa, I was like, it's got to be hard to when you're getting yelled at to go left and you go right. It's got to be hard to know which way's left when you can't put your hands up in front of you to make yells.
But yeah, she would like Cedric would say left, and she'd be like left, and she'd turn right.
I know.
Like it's not. You can't even be like, oh, miscommunication. You know, she can't quite hear him. She would repeat the direction and immediately do the opposite.
She goes, my left or your left? They're the same left. We're facing the same way.
I think. Oh yeah, David, he took a header too, didn't he?
He did.
I think he went right into that pole.
Oh, did he hit his head off of when he was going under through the leaves?
Yeah, the little cross
and he got hit
there.
in the nuts?
Yeah, twice.
Stun man, he's just like a wrecking ball through there.
Yeah. He hit his nuts when he was walking around once, and then also Camilla just walked him right into it when they went to do the challenge. She's like, all right, hold my hand, and just walked him right into it.
What did Jeff say? Jeff was like, oh, David, right where you don't want to get
right where you're gonna remember
right
it.
where you remember it. That's what it was. That was a good line.
David, he had an interesting episode where they did the whole he got the like sad hardship kind of storyline.
Right.
I think that's a new slant for the like Greek god guy.
It is. I remember thinking this edit was weird in the moment, where I was like, this doesn't really fit the rest of his story arc. I was trying to determine, I think, what that meant for him throughout the course of the show. I was like, this is way too much. Ordinarily, if you get like a little bit of that, it might be because you're going home soon. Because they want to tell your story before you get voted out. But it was too much to really feel like that. I felt like it was too long of a segment for him to go home like in the next 2 votes, you know?
No, I think he's long for the game because I
too.
feel like they're trying to give multiple dimensions to a guy where it's like, okay, on the surface, like we're going to sell you on what he is on the surface, right? Which is this incredibly good looking dude, body and face. And then like, that's what we're going to sell you on, like that being kind of goofy, like kind of having like a magnetic type personality. And now we're going to mix in the layers. Like, so this is what got you here. Now, this is why you should care. This is why you should stay, is that now they're giving this. David feels to me like potential finale member.
I could see that. I was looking up. He looks like Glenn Powell a lot.
Yeah, maybe he's Glenn Powell's stunt double.
He could be. That could be. I didn't even
There
think
you go.
about it. They have the same like. How I always describe Glenn Powell is that all of his facial features are too small for the rest of his head, and they're all like scrunched in the middle. I feel like him and David look alike, and they both have that flow going. Yeah, I feel like he's definitely along for the game. That was my that was my final takeaway as well from my introspection about edits was that it was too much for him to go soon, so they had to have been establishing him for the long term because he's important. He's someone we should care about.
Yeah, I really am starting to think that this. I mean, I know Survivor historically is pretty male dominant in the edit. I'm starting to wonder if this is going to be a heavy male cast
I
or game.
was thinking that as well because I like to kind of internally track like how I'm ranking people to see if I have a gender bias, just unbeknownst to me, like
Yeah.
in my rankings. And I was like, man, I'm top heavy with the guys so far, and then it could be a reflection of me, it could be a reflection of the edit, because I feel like a lot of our rankings are just based on how they edit the show. But
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, in all the 3 people we named that had weird edits, or that we thought possibly 4 people, if you include Charity, the 4 people we thought were under edited for their role in the game, all women. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like if you go down our rankings, like we have Camilla at 5, and I agree with you. Like there's something that feels off about her edit. Like she's in the numbers. I do think she sticks around. I think she's getting decent confessional count. Like I think she's okay. We had Chrissy tied for 6th. She's getting pretty under edited, and to me feels like a passenger in the edit.
she's just safe. I think it's her.
Yeah. Bianca, like I said, she's been pretty under edited. She got a boost this week. Charity, like she's been on the bottom. Like she could potentially go home pretty soon. Eva, we got great personal content at the beginning, and now she kind of seems to be, I would say, a below average player in this cast.
Yeah. I would say she's probably properly edited.
Yeah. Star is a bit of a pariah. And even though she's gaining more allies, I still don't think she's very good at the game. I think she could probably get. It seems like she's either not going to figure it out and she's going to go home soon, or she is going to kind of figure it out, but they don't care to explain it to you, really, like show the growth.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mary has a really good edit.
Yeah.
And Say is like dominant, but
In a
I
bad
think
way.
they're going out of their way to show you that, to give her a negative edit.
She's the Banu edit.
Right. Yeah, so like if you go through all those,
The Rome edit.
not really getting a ton of positive. This is Jeff. He knew that in that interview he was going to say that Survivor, like most of the Survivor legends, are male. I don't know if you saw that. That was from like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
There was some blowback there.
And, oh yeah, people were saying, I don't
He
really.
knew this was coming. He knew he was going to have some confirmation bias around the
Well,
corner.
yeah, he can easily point to this and say, "See, I'm right."
Right, yeah. Yeah.
It's nothing. It's
Random
nothing.
season, the next one that we already filmed that you haven't seen that I'm trying to promote. There's a lot of great guys in there.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
When like I completely disagree with him on that. Like, so I mean,
Yeah.
like, I would say, if you think of like the 10 top Survivor players of all time, I'd say probably half of them are women. It's probably 50-50.
I think over half. I think that, and I think that if you go based off, I guess characters, there's probably skews more guys, but part of that too
That's
is
because society and also has a male bias. That's why.
yeah, and they edit the guys to look better.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you go off of skill in the game, like you said, if you made a top 10, I don't think you can have a top 10 that does not include Sandra, Parvati, and Sarah. I don't want to fuck. I'm about to fuck it up. Yeah,
Kim
that's
Spradlin?
Suri is who I'm thinking of. I was gonna say Sandra, Parvati, Sari, and I think Sarah Lacina have to be in your top 5 or your top 10.
You love
And
Spradlin. Yeah.
and I was gonna say I would probably personally put Spradlin in there, and I think there's a couple other women that you could argue like that's 5. I think for sure,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Rob is kind of the only, and I think a lot of people would argue for Jeremy to be in that group of
And Tony.
and Tony. So I think that's like 8 out of 10. Oh my God, this is. I put zero thought into that. That's a topic that I would like to put way more thought into.
Put more thought into.
Yeah,
because-
but I think the point is, yeah, like when you have a great female, like the female players have to be a top 10 all-time player in order for them to be like, let's pepper them into the edit. And even Parvati is under-edited as a winner.
Right. And like there's two sides of the same coin is the reason why. It's like if you get a great character who is a woman, either people vote her out right away because that's how people view women, right. Or they're under-edited because that's how people view women.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're just screwed either way.
I come into the season thinking, like, when you just look at a cast, I always think there's more winner equity on the women than the men.
I do too. That's how we draft it, really.
Yeah, there's always like 1 or 2 women that there's no shot, and like half the dudes have no shot. That's like there's a lot of fucking
he's
dumbasses.
just like he's the challenge beast edit, and he's the loser doesn't understand edit. Like that falls on the men a lot more than the women. Yeah. Which could be because they're unedited, and we're like, oh well, most of them are just gonna go in the middle.
Yeah, there was there's this guy on TikTok that was talking about Survivor on a live, and I scrolled past it and I commented, and it was last week. He was talking about Kevin getting voted out, and he was giving a lot of credit to Cedric, and
Okay,
and he was like, and I commented, I was like, it was Justin's idea, and like. Cedric, you could tell when Justin says it, it's the first time Cedric has even considered it. And he's like, yeah, but the move is better for Cedric, and they do it, so it's his move. And I was like, dude, Cedric's fucking... I think I commented again, he didn't respond to it, but I was like, Cedric's clearly dumb. Like, what do you... And
also,
then this happened.
Don't get... If the move is best for you, that doesn't mean you get credit for the move. That's not the same thing.
Right. Yeah, you don't... Exactly. I don't...
I could vote incorrectly and have the best thing happen for my game. That doesn't mean it's my move.
Exactly. So yeah,
dumb argument.
I don't know why you would ever even root for Cedric. He's so clearly like this is a great book smarts versus street smarts guy.
For sure.
Where Survivor takes much more street smarts.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he's a surgeon, and he's fucking dumber than a box of hammers. The Dumber Than a Bag of Hammers award. Fuck. Who won that? I think Chase Rice won the Dumber Than a Bag of Hammers award. Presented by Dan Lembo.
I always forget.
Or no, Marty Piombo.
I always forget Chase Rice played Survivor. He's like pretty famous now.
That is crazy. Yeah, he is one of the... He's one of the success stories.
Yeah.
And he's a male, so that's why.
Imagine that. The patriarchy.
Yeah, and speaking of males being superior, it's time for...
Chung chung.
The Dunchains, where we have 2 women Dunchained already.
I'm gonna Dunchain for... No, just kidding.
I have Say Dunchained, and you have Mary. Tried to shoot your shot.
I was right.
You're right. She got the most votes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's who leaves the island, not who gets the most votes. Lots of things happened this episode through sheer luck. People losing their vote, people not going home. Very lucky episode, just by and large.
Literally rolling a game of chance with the journey.
Yeah. I'm trying to...
There was an underlying thing with Justin where he was like, yeah, I don't like to gamble because of like stuff like this. And then they cut immediately to him losing. And he's like, this is why I don't gamble anymore. And it was like, it felt like one was like, this is what I tell people is what I feel about my history with gambling. And this is what I actually...
he rolls it and he goes, all right, just got to get back to even. Just got to get back to even.
Yeah, I feel like he got before he had that pizza joint. He was in the fucking gutter with some.
He's a Russian table tennis.
Yeah, well,
2 o'clock on a Wednesday.
he owed a bad amount of money to some even worse people. Type of shit.
You see, this is why I only have one kneecap.
This is why I arch back like this because I had my neck broken so many times.
I've had a
It's
big.
like Chrissy Moltisanti with the neck brace.
I've sat so many times with this neck brace in court, suing these loan sharks. They just keep busting me up. Dunchain. I'm gonna try to read the tea leaves here a little bit. Fortunately, the tea leaves are aligning with who is also bad, so that's always good when that happens. I get nervous when the tea leaves align with someone who's good, and I'm gonna make
Those pesky tea leaves.
I know. It's like it's not my own brain. I can blame it on something else. It's the tea leaves. I'm gonna go. The green drop is just a disaster. They're swapping them around just to have them get voted out individually after this. Like, I would be bamboozled. I can't even come up with a word to describe how I would feel if any of them won the game. So I think Cedric and Say and Mary are all pretty free. Free votes. Mary could have a comeback, I could imagine, which isn't good because I done chained her, but I'm going Cedric. I'm not going to overthink it.
Ceddy.
I think that as long as he and Say are both in the game, she's going to be gunning for him, and at some point you're going to get a group of people that say, you know what, like, let's just try to shut her up and vote for Cedric, and then, spoiler, she will not, and then you will vote her out. That's what's going to happen.
There you go.
So, Cedric it is, I think.
Yeah, we were talking about the women. Proven not sexist.
Yeah, by that
But you are racist.
tirade. For the record, not racist either. I mean, we're racist because we're white, so that amount of racist.
Yeah,
but
you're walking the tightrope right now, my friend.
All
right, well, yeah. So we got, and as it stands, you have Mary and Cedric Dunchained. I have Say Dunchained. We have not had a Dunchained person go home yet, so that's where
we're gonna end it.
Sits right now. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, I think that about does it for this week. So yeah, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Those are all the ways. You're listening to one of them right now, so feel free to check the other ones out. Also, Twitter and Instagram. The TikTok, I lost access to the TikTok account, which is bullshit because I have a lot of I have a video with 40,000 views.
How did you lose access to it?
So my preferred login method was I used Twitter back when that was a thing because I had the Twitter, I have my personal for all these things, and then I had the Twitter, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll just link them together, and it'll be a good thing.
Yes.
And then, it was an off season. I didn't really try to get into it for a while, and then I tried to go back into it, and the account just wasn't there anymore. I was like, huh, that's weird. And then I was like, hey, I have this account, and I'm locked out of it. And they were like, oh, okay, let's, if you can give us all this information. They were like, when was your first video, and all this, where's the last place it was logged in, location. And I was like, fuck, I combed through, I spent seriously 20 minutes. I was like, let me figure out all these answers to all these things. And I gave them all of it. And they were like, oh, yeah, you don't have access to that anymore. And I was like, why? Yeah. And they were like, yeah, it looks like you logged in with Twitter, and that's not an option anymore. And I was like, but I've just verified that it's me. Can I make a new login? And they were like, no, well, so you logged in with Twitter, so that's what you use to log in.
Yeah, but
and that's not an option anymore.
So I can then provide you my email, and we can do it that way.
Yeah, all the while they're like, you did this, you did that, with the account that they quote unquote can't verify that it's me. And after all of it, I sent a message. I was like, wait, so I was still trying, like, genuinely seeking clarification,
Hmm.
and they sent me this clearly automated message that was like any further inquiry is not going to result in more information. Like, we've told you, we have fulfilled your request to our desire,
Yeah.
and we are done, pretty much. Which then I was free to fly, and I was like, what the fuck? You changed it?
It's like, yeah,
I said,
all this me doing stuff. You are the one who did it.
right. I sent a scathing response at that point where I was like, I didn't ask for you to change anything. I logged in with a method of login that you offered, and then you decided to get rid of it and did not give me a chance to use a different method to log in. Like,
Right.
it's like, hey, we're getting rid of Twitter logins in a month. Like,
Yeah.
change over to your email or something like that.
Right.
It just fucking was gone one day. And I was like, what the
TikTok.
fuck do you? And then I sent it, and then, a half a second later, I got the exact same message that I just got about any further inquiries. You're not getting any more information.
Into the delete. Well, that's what happens when you fire half your staff.
Right. Yeah. So I made a new one, and now I think it's like, I posted a clip from last week, and it got literally 0 views.
Nice.
And I think it's shadow banned
Shadow
because
banned.
it's the exact same thing as the other one, and they're like, this guy's trying to copy this other account.
Yeah.
It's like, fucking, and I can't even delete the other one because I can't get access
It'll just
to
be
it.
archived forever.
Yeah, it's so fucked. But anyway, it still exists. Now it's the.reality.gurus on TikTok.
Nice. Good plug for anyone.
Zero
anyone
fucking
still
views.
listening to this. I was complaining.
Yeah, I posted. I guess I didn't put any hashtags, but I posted it with obviously 0 followers because I literally made the account so I could post our clip from last week, and then yeah, I was like, let me see how that's doing. Like the day after, it was 0. The
Try,
number's 0.
Hashtag fuck TikTok. See where that gets you.
Yeah, maybe I will do that.
Actual band.
But yeah, so, so take a peek there if you want to. But yeah, that'll do it here. So thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you all next time.